Hey guys, this is Joshua with Future Filmmaker 3940 Reviews, where I talk movies, TV, and music. Now I'm doing a first ever tier ranking. I've done a lot of rankings on my channel, but I decided I wanted to try something a little different for this ranking. And with the release of Pixar's newest film, their 24th entry into their filmography, Luca, which premiered on Disney Plus today, which I've already seen, and I will have a review up. The review will probably already be up before you see this ranking, because I do have to edit this ranking, of course. I decided to take all 24 Pixar's movies and rank them from worst to best, but instead of worst to best, we have put them in the category that they are in. So this is gonna be fun, and I see some people do tier lists, so I wanted to try something out, and plus it's something different as far as doing rankings. So the way I decided to organize this is that you have the Pixar movies that are masterpieces, the near masterpieces, the good movies but overrated, underrated, and okay to not very good, and do this in a randomized order. So with that being said, the first movie we have is Coco, and this came out in 2017, and I remember this was being one of the biggest surprises. I went into this open-minded, but I didn't know what was gonna happen with this movie. I wasn't even sure if I was gonna love this movie the way I did. And just from an animation standpoint and then character standpoint, this was definitely very well done. I like the character of Miguel. It did something different with the Day of the Dead scenario. Just this is Pixar showing that they can do more than just sequels to their classics, and everything about this movie is great. Just the acting from the voice actor to the young kids, Benjamin Bratt, the direction by Lee Unkrich, the idea is very original. The fact that Miguel has to literally go back and stop this and reverse the band before time runs out. And then you have the dog, which is very cute, and just this was a very heartwarming surprise. And the only thing I have a little bit of an issue with is the whole villain here. I didn't think it was all that interesting, but I like the songs, I like the music. The song Remember Me is so beautiful, and I came damn near close to crying, and I don't cry a lot with movies, but this is one exception where I almost came close to crying. So I'm going to put this in near masterpiece. This is almost perfection. I love that movie. That movie is really amazing. I love it. Next up, we have Toy Story 3. Now, easily, this is without a doubt one of my favorite movies of all time. And also, this is one of my favorite anime movies of the last decade, one of my favorite animated films of all time, and also this is the best of the Toy Story series. Some people argue the fourth one, some people argue the second one, some people say the first one, but for me, Toy Story 3, coming off many years after Toy Story 2 in 1999, this had an incredible task. I know some people say it's overrated. I love Toy Story 3. It's basically the Great Escape with the toys. You have the same old classic characters coming back, but you also have some new characters. I loved Lotso as a villain, even though I hated him, especially the stuff he did as a big baby. And he's a villain that you kind of sympathize with, even though he's a piece of shit. And Ken was also really cool. I love Stretch, and just this is pretty much Andy going off to college, and for those who grew up with the first two movies, they definitely relate to that. And the ending of this movie, again, this is one of the exceptions where I did actually cry, especially at the end. So Toy Story 3, I have nothing bad to say about it. So you're gonna go right in the masterpieces. Of course, is Toy Story, the original Toy Story. What more can I say about the original Toy Story that hasn't been said? I think it had new grounds to break. In terms of being the first CG animated film, it is delivered on what it set out to do. It is, I thought it was very, very good, very well done. I thought the characters were very well done. Woody and Buzz are the dynamic duo as far as Pixar dynamic duos goes. The story is very cool, very awesome. Seeing all these stories coming to life and talking is great. Tom Hanks and Sam Allen has great chemistry. There should not be a live action remake. Do not ever remake this into live action or any of the Toy Story movies or any Pixar movie in live action for that matter. Of course, the bully Sid, he's a bit scary, but you know what? This is great. So you're definitely going in the masterpieces section. Definitely going in the masterpieces section. To A Bug's Life, which nobody really talks about. When they do talk about it, I do see some people really harp on this movie, and this has always been one of my favorites. And this came out in 1998, the year I was born, so I love this film. I like Ants as well. Ants was good from DreamWorks, but A Bug's Life, come on. It's Pixar. Yes, I know there's Kevin Spacey in there, but I can watch any movie he's in and separate the art from the artist. I judge by an actor's performance, not what they did, with the exception of Amber Heard. But A Bug's Life, I think this is a severely underrated film. I love the story, I like the idea, and this is a lot of fun to be had. And this was one of my most watched Pixar movies as a child, and it's still one of my most watched today as a 22-year-old, well, soon to be 23-year-old adult. So, underrated category for that. Next up, we get to the crown jewel, Toy Story 2. How many sequels that can be just as great as the original and be even better? Well, this is one of them. Toy Story 2 is a masterpiece. Easy. There ain't shit bad about Toy Story 2. It's just, Toy Story 2 it's awesome. Okay, it's awesome. I love it. Toy Story 2 is so fun. It's a lot of fun, creative, entertaining aspects. It did keep the same spirit of the first movie, but it also brought Stinky Pete, played by Kelsey Grammer, Bullseye, and the army guys was just a lot of fun as they were in the first movie. And Bo Peep was also very cool. You have Barbie this time around, and you had the introduction of Jessie, and the main guy who's selling all the Woody's Roundup toys. He was interesting in villain. It's been so long since I watched Toy Story 2, but Toy Story 2 is great. It's great. There's nothing bad for me to say about this. Now we're getting into Monsters Inc. So Monsters Inc. This is a movie where I think this is good, but I will say I have always found this to be a little bit overrated. Not as that as a bad movie per se. I just don't think it's one of the best animated movies of the 2000s. Well, the best animated movie of the 2000s. It is one of them, but it's not the number one. I still think movies like Shrek 2 are one of the best. But you have Mike and Sully here, played by John Goodman and Billy Crystal. I really like them. I like the world of the Monsters Incorporated Corporation. Them having to scare kids to get them to and cheer them up. You have a cool villain in Randall. You have great voice actors like Jennifer Tilly in there. Boo is very adorable. And the ending when Boo and Sully talks, and if your heart is not if your heart is not in love and filled with joy by the end of that scene, I don't know what to tell you. It's just it's a good movie, but it's a little overrated. So you're going right in the good but overrated. No offense, people, don't hate me. Now we get into Finding Nemo, which is another movie where I definitely have to say is a masterpiece. I love Finding Nemo. Just this is another one that was one of my most watched growing up, and just this is just so fantastic. The world of Nemo and Marlin and Dory and the underwater world. You have some amazing sea creatures like Bruce the Shark and then the turtle, which I've always thought was funny. Them Marlin and of course Dory having to go and save Nemo and find him, and then Nemo having to get back to his dad. It's a very emotional story, and the opening alone where he says, "I will never let anything happen to you," and then the Nemo's theme music. It's just this is a very good movie, but Darla can really scare the shit out of you as a kid. So yeah, masterpiece for that. Next up here we have The Incredibles. So The Incredibles easily is a masterpiece. I got the so as of right now, the best Fantastic Four movie that we're ever gonna get, and it is great. I love The Incredibles. It's Pixar's answer to doing superheroes, and the characters are likable. Mr. Incredible is awesome. Elastigirl, gorgeous. Of course, she's the mom character, but she's a badass. Um, Dash and Violet are really cool. I like their powers with the force field, and Dash with him running like the Flash, which I can't wait for his movie next year. You're gonna be hearing me say that again when I do my most anticipated of 2022 and ranking the DCEU. Um, just this is a very fun movie. Syndrome is a great villain. Um, the of course Miss Edna is so funny. Mirage, Elizabeth Pena, may she rest in peace. Very cool character. Just great animation. The Michael Giacchino score is also really good. I have nothing else to say about this movie. It's just a pretty entertaining film, and it's a masterpiece. Definitely one of my favorite animated films. Definitely one of the best superhero movies out there. Cars, which honestly, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it right now. Cars is not very good. I never liked any of the Cars movies, especially this one. Good animation and good voice acting. It's just that it's boring, and for a Pixar movie, it is way too long. Way too long. It's almost 2 hours. It's just nothing interesting happens there. Like Lightning McQueen and Mater, they're cool characters and the voice acting is great. It's just I could not connect with the story as much. Quite controversial. But WALL-E, this is a good movie. It really is a good film, but again, it is a little bit overrated. A little bit. It's not. But just because I say Monsters Inc. and WALL-E and another movie that I will be adding to the list is overrated, doesn't mean I hate the movie. I don't hate the movie, of course. WALL-E, it has great sound effects. It has great characters, and I love the characters of WALL-E and Eve. I like that idea, and I like those characters. It's just very good, and the sound design by Ben Burtt is good. I like the emotional heart of the story. I like the concepts. But what makes this overrated is that the unanimous praise that this gets, as it is the 2001 Space Odyssey of the Pixar movies, but It's not a horrible movie. It's still a fantastic film in its own right. So I definitely can't knock the movie down for that. And also, there's no true villain here, so that's also a little bit of a disconnect. But still, I think Wall-E is just not a great movie. It was not even a masterpiece at that point. Now we get into Up, which definitely Up is definitely a masterpiece. You're going in the masterpiece section right there. Up is so awesome. Just the first couple minutes alone shows you on what type of movie this is gonna be, and the whole montage with Carl and his wife when they were young, and then you do have Doug, the dog, and then the little boy that is trying to hang out with him, but he says no, and then he is, of course, a scout, and then they get sent up by a bunch of balloons and on this awesome journey, and just great emotional resonance to it. The animation, of course, is great. The voice acting is amazing. If you don't feel anything in those first couple minutes, even the end of the movie, you're pretty much not human. But I digress. But I watch a lot of movies, some movies that were emotional, and I don't cry. But it's perfect. It's completely fine. It's understandable. But with that being said, Up is a masterpiece. I have nothing more to say about Up. Once again, we are back in the not very good session with Cars 2. This is, I said this before. I will say it again. I do not like Cars 2. It is not the worst Pixar movie. Well, it is the worst Disney Pixar movie. It has, I admit, it has great animation. I can watch it for the animation. The animation is top notch. It's stellar. I love the animation. It's beautiful. But the big thing that annoys me here is you made a side character in terms of Mater, aka Larry the Cable Guy's character, into the main character, and then this whole spy scenario and this whole spy agency with these cars just was not very interesting to me. I found it very boring, very lame, and very predictable. It was just so boring, and I never want to watch any of the Cars 2 ever again. Ratatouille, this is an underrated gem. I don't know why many people don't talk about it. I like the idea. I think it's very fun. It's entertaining. You have a rat helping the shelf in Paris. The Paris location is beautiful. Pixar knows how to do great animation. I could sit here all day and talk about each of these movies, and especially this one, saying why I feel like it's underrated. But I have a full-on Pixar review playlist if you want. That will be linked in the description box. Dory. So if you want. Now this is a tricky one because I thought when I first saw Dory, I hated it. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the story. I didn't like the idea. But over time, this is one of those Pixar movies that has grown on me. Merida is a great Disney princess for girls. Yes, I know this is Scotland in this one, but this was very different for Pixar, and this is another one of their underrated films. It's underrated and okay at the same time, so I'm not sure which one I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the okay. Because no, I'll go with underrated because I think more people should be giving that movie a lot more credit than it should have. It's not one of the worst things ever. It's It's not one of the worst things ever. I think it's very underappreciated and very, very good. Definitely give that movie a chance if you're one of those people who didn't like it the first time. Monsters University, not a masterpiece, but it's still great on its own. So this is, I know some people wish this was a sequel, but this was a very nice prequel showing how, of course, our two buddies, how they met, and this was just a lot of fun. A lot of the new monsters here I very much enjoyed. I thought that a lot of the monsters here were just very cool and very fun and creative. Mike and Sully still has that chemistry. You still get a lot of cool monsters. There's a lot of funny moments. There are some moments that doesn't really work in terms of humor, but a lot of the voice acting is really great. The animation is still fun. This is a very cute kids movie that you can watch, and while it doesn't match the heights of the original Monsters Inc., I think it's a lot better than what people make it out to be. Monsters University is a lot of fun. Man, this is going to be another controversial one, but Inside Out. When I first saw Inside Out, I thought it was good, but not great. I thought it was overrated. It got all this praise, and I just didn't think all that praise was a bit worth it. But watching it years later, I find this to be a very, very awesome film. Now, again, it's not a masterpiece, but it's definitely one of the best animated movies of the decade. Pete Docter never lets you down. This is a very good movie. It's a near masterpiece. The fact that Pete Docter has this idea of taking all these emotions, such as happy, sad, joy, and anger, and fear, and combine it into one movie is a very great concept due to the use of this girl who just moved to a new town. It's a very unique concept. It's something that has never been done before in animation. And this is Pixar where they just love to continue to push the boundaries. That's what I like about them. They love to push the boundaries, and it's a great film. The reason why I think it's not a masterpiece is because I do feel like some of the third act is a little bit slow to wrap up. But everyone in the cast is good. Mindy Kaling, just name someone. If I again, we'll be here all day naming everybody in this cast, but this is a great film. I love Inside Out, and you should too. What do you think? Disagreement or not? I'm just gonna go random and just get this over with. This is the last movie that's not very good, and that is Cars 3. The less I say about Cars 3, the better, but I will say this. All three of these Cars movies suck for me. I hate them. They have good animation, they have good voice acting, they have good soundtracks, and they have good, interesting stories, but they never really go anywhere. And if you like any of the Cars movies, that's completely fine. I would not take that away from you. You're allowed to enjoy the Cars movies. You're entitled to your opinion. But Cars 3, I just do not like this film. I will gladly say this. I will rewatch it over the Emoji movie. Man, that was awful. The Emoji movie. But, because at least this is at least try to make me laugh. At least try to have a story. And at least try to make an attempt to be an entertaining movie. And even though I don't like any of these Cars movies, they can just be on the background and while I'm just editing or doing something. Or if I had each of these Pixar movies, if I had to watch all three Cars movies, there would be background noise. If I'm eating, or if I'm playing video games, or if I'm talking to my future girlfriend, or whatever. But yeah, that's all I have to say about it. Next up, we're gonna go with The Good Dinosaur, which I think The Good Dinosaur is an okay film. I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's middle of the road. There's a lot of great elements in this movie, but there's also a little bit of frustrating elements here. It doesn't have that whole Pixar charm as you would like, and I will say the story becomes a little bit predictable, but what saves this movie from going into the not very good is the voice acting and the animation and the score and the direction and just the landscape of this. The landscape is so awesome. This is for an okay Pixar movie. It's good. It's good. There's a lot of good things in it. It's just also a lot of frustrating things in it. But nevertheless, it's not a terrible movie. Not a terrible movie at all. Next up here we have Finding Dory, of course. Finding Dory. I'm gonna put you in the near masterpiece section. Because while I do love Finding Dory, I don't think it's the masterpiece I thought it made it out to be was. Of course, there is moments where I feel like Dory got a little annoying. And I do wish that Nemo was a lot more older, which I can understand why they chose not to make him an adult. But that, I don't know, it's just, you would think for being a very highly anticipated sequel to Find Nemo, Nemo would be a lot older this time around. But this is a movie I thought is very good. It's very great. I love the fact that Dory gets to reunite with her family. Marlin is still a lot of fun. Some of the newer characters are a lot of fun. It's great to return back to this world. And I was very enthusiastic. I was very happy with how this movie turned out. Because initially I was a little worried about this, but because it's Pixar, I gave this movie a chance, and I thought this was awesome. I thought this was a 5 out of 5. But now it's almost a 5 out of 5. It's a 4.9 out of 5 stars. But it's still one of the best animated films of the decade and one of the best movies of 2016. Now, before we conclude here, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and here's a little bit of intermission here. Now let's get into the top 5 of this tier, and we will end this. Now we have The Incredibles 2, which I definitely have to say, for a movie that took 14 years to wait, which the first Incredibles I didn't see until later on in my life. Before a 14-year long awaited sequel to The Incredibles, this was damn awesome. This is how you do a very long awaited sequel to a well-loved animated movie. You go in a different direction, you respect what came before, but you also just ante it up a bit. Jack stole the whole show. Baby Jack having all those powers is awesome. It's a lot of fun. I love laughing, and it is so cool to see. And this time you do have the dad stay at home and watch Violet and Dash. But you have Elastigirl, aka Holly Hunter, gorgeous actress with the southern accent. She has to go out and save the world, but the team does come and save the world, and Frozone is still awesome as ever. You have some new characters, including one played by Sophia Bush. And if nothing else, if we don't get a third film in 14 years, which I hope they don't make us wait 14 years for that, which I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to do anyway. If nothing else, then if we don't get a third movie, then this was definitely worth the wait. Definitely worth the wait. So I'm definitely going to say this is a masterpiece. Well, Toy Story 4. I'm going to be completely honest. When they announced Toy Story 4, I was not excited for this. I was dreading this. I was like, you're only doing this because You can. And I was not excited for this. This just the trailers didn't sell me. I didn't like the fact that they were doing this after you perfectly wrapped up an amazing trilogy with the third movie. But I gave this movie a chance, and I went into this movie optimistic, and I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought it was gonna be, even to the point where it was one of my favorite movies of the year. Toy Story 4, in my opinion, is a masterpiece. Some people can disagree with me all you want. Some people will say Toy Story 3 is a true ending, but I see this as more as an ending to Woody's story. It was very good. I thought it was very well done. I very much appreciated what this movie was going for. I was really impressed with what they did here. It pays great respect to the late Don Rickles. It pays great respect to what came before. It's great to see Bo Peep back. You have some great new characters like Keanu Reeves' toy character, which I can't believe they actually got Keanu Reeves to do this movie. That was awesome. Christina Hendricks, underrated redhead actress as Gabby Gabby. And the ending with Woody deciding to stay with Bo Peep. While it has divided some people, I'm one of those people who actually likes what they did there. It's not a complete betrayal of the character Woody. Now we have Onward, which came out last year, and this was, of the two Pixar movies from last year, this was the one I was looking forward to the most. Chris Pratt and Tom Holland playing brothers, and they get to see their dad for one day with the help of this magical staff, and they have to find the rest of his body and put him back together by the end of the movie in 24 hours in this magical elf land, or their dad is going to be gone forever. And I love this movie. I will never understand why so many people didn't go like this. I will never understand why so many people didn't go see this. This is definitely one of the underrated gems. This is a fantastic film. I love Onward. Just Chris Pratt and Tom Holland, they have great chemistry. I know some people are upset with Chris Pratt right now, but learn to separate actors' beliefs and watch them act. Please, can we do that? And Julia Louis-Dreyfus was cool. I like Octavia Spencer as a new character, the dad, the journey that these characters go on, and then this is very relatable to me, very relatable, because I have 4 sisters, and I'm the only boy in the house. That is not easy. So I was very much happy with how this turned out. And that ending though, with the 2 brothers hugging each other, I came close to crying. I came very close to crying. I will admit that. But I didn't cry. I sat there and took it like a man, and I very much enjoyed it. So, yeah, that's Onward for you in the underrated section. Now, this next one, this was the Pixar movie that came out last year I was not looking forward to. From every trailer, I was like, no, this is not going to be good in the slightest. Even though I should not be doubting the director, this was another case of the Into the Spider-Verse syndrome where I was not looking forward to this. This sounded like a horrible idea. It's like Pixar has gave up and went to hell. But I went into this movie open-minded and gave it a first shake. And this was great. Soul definitely deserves to win Best Animated Feature. I will prefer the Wolf Walkers to one, but it deserved the accolades it got. I just think that Soul is a little bit overrated, because many people highs this as one of the top tier favorite Pixar movies, and I don't think so. I think there are much better Pixar movies. Soul, I think, is really fantastic though. Jamie Foxx was great as Joe Gardner, Felicia Rashad as the mother, Angela Bassett, Tina Fey as 22, and the idea of Joe Gardner, he gets this long awaited dream of his to finally come true. But he also ends up dying in the process before he can actually be a part of this band that Angela Bassett's character is in. This is something that we can all relate to. That we all have our passion, and sometimes things doesn't go the way we plan. We end up doing something else, and then. But the message of the movie I really took away from was that to live life to the fullest, and even if things changes in your direction, don't give up on what you dream the most. Because if you get lost, then you lose yourself, or you just give up. What does it mean in the end? What is it all worth in the end? The reason why I think Soul is a little bit overrated is because I don't think it is a 10 out of 10 film. I do have issues with the villain. I do have some issues into the way this movie chooses to openly leave itself up to interpretation. And the villain is very weak. I don't like the villain here. But I still very much enjoyed Soul a lot, and I will definitely go back and rewatch this again. And I just want to slap myself in the face for not reviewing this. I will right that wrong, and I will review it. Don't worry. I just have to review Luca first. So, with that being said, yeah, Soul, good but overrated. And then last but least, we have Luca, which I just recently saw a couple of hours ago, and this is not a masterpiece by any source of the imagination, but it's still great. This feels more like a Hayao Miyazaki movie mixed with a little bit of an animated version of Call Me by Your Name, except without all the gay scenario stuff. This is a very visually striking movie. It goes for the world of the Italian world. It's very, very funny. I laughed a lot. The voice cast is great. You have Jack Dylan Grazer from Shazam, Jacob Tremblay in here. The world and landscape is beautiful. The score is amazing by Dan Romer. Initially, Ennio Morricone was going to do the score, but unfortunately, he passed away before he could do it. But the direction is very strong. The writing is great. The reason why I don't think this is a masterpiece is because I will say there are a couple times where the movie it doesn't have the greatest of world build up, and the characterization I felt like could have been a little bit more fleshed out between a few of these characters. I feel like you could use an extra 10 to 15 minutes for some of the characterization and some world build up. But with that being said, I still enjoy myself with Luca, and this is a movie I definitely will watch again. The sad part is that we were robbed of a freaking theatrical release. Again, fuck you, pandemic, for taking that from us. But yeah, it's still great. Still, I unapologetically love this film. While it's not a masterpiece, it's still great. So, that being said, yeah, Luca is great. Definitely watch this on Disney Plus. It is definitely for free. You do not have to pay $30 Premier Access. Go watch this movie. It's awesome. All in all, if we can really look at my ranking, this is how it is, and just that's that's how the ranking is, and just I'm very happy with my ranking here. I think I did a good job on this ranking. So the way I see it here, the not very good films are the Cars films. The Good Dinosaur is the only okay one. The underrated ones are Bug's Life, Ratatouille, Brave, and Onward. Not masterpieces, but still great, is Monsters University and Luca. The movies that I find to be good but overrated are, of course, um, Soul, Wall-E, and Monsters Incorporated. Masterpieces, well, newer masterpieces is Coco, Inside Out, and Finding Dory. And masterpieces are all four Toy Story movies, Finding Nemo, Up, and of course, both Incredibles films. So, that was my entire Pixar movie tier ranking. This is probably going to be a long video because I do have to edit out of course, the pauses and then put in the little memes and stuff I'm going to use, but with that being said, this is still a very, very good tier ranking. Let me know in the comments below what did you think of my tier ranking. How would you rank all these Pixar movies? Which one you love, which one you hate, which one you think is not a masterpiece but still great. Let's discuss all of that in the comment section down below. Be sure to like this video because it does help with the algorithm going on and it does help this channel grow. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified when newest videos are up. All my social media links to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Letterboxd, my Amazon wish list, all of that is in the description box down below. With that being said, you guys keep it cool and join the Epictasticness.